heavyweight fixture, but cheating. The combat was ferocious, the comments frank, and the game back in the dock.
I think the FA will be looking at all the incidents at the end of the game. You're too big in the country, and you get that kind of behaviour at the end of a match. I don't think it does us any good. The whole country is talking about it. We should be talking about something great in the game, and we're not.
Van Nistelrooy, in my opinion, was the first provocative attitude and caught Patrick on purpose first. It's unbelievable that he gets sent off and not Van Nistelrooy.
Yet for nearly 80 minutes, referee Steve Bennett, controversially reselected after the Community Shield, had hardly been overworked like the goalkeepers. Ryan Giggs hit a post. Roy Keane tried to put his imprint on events. But United were largely safety first. Only Ronaldo was offering width and tricks and something different. Until Arsenal doubled up on him. His marker, Ashley Cole, had their best effort of the opening half. After the Inter embarrassment, the Gunners were demanding United do better. The sort of space found by Ruud van Nistelrooy was a rare and precious thing. The Dutchman wasted what looked like being his one and only chance. Until, with Arsenal awesomely organised, Mr. Bennett found fault with Patrick Vieira's umpteenth tackle. A yellow card. 60 seconds later, Van Nistelrooy left the Frenchman in a heap. Out came a leg in retaliation, and Van Nistelrooy jumped again. The 52nd red card of the Wenger era. An 8th for Vieira, who now tops the Premiership table, ahead of Vinnie Jones and the man who did most to calm him down, Roy Keane. The Gunners' public inquiry centred on number 10. But boiling point was still to come. In the last minute of injury time, Diego Forlan got in behind Martin Keown, and now Bennett really wasn't Mr. Popular. Wenger called it a gift. Maybe his mind was muddled, maybe it was layman's jig along the line. But Van Nistelrooy missed for the third time running. Arsenal could acclaim the case for their defence. But it's the events at the final whistle which are now under scrutiny. Keown, Lauren and Parler could all face FA charges for surrounding Van Nistelrooy. Cole and Lehmann's behaviour is also under review, along with United's Gary Neville. Wenger was unwilling to criticise his players for their behaviour towards Van Nistelrooy at the finish. Oh, and by the way, Arsenal are back on top of the league.
It is up to managers, this is up to players to keep their cool. It's as simple as that. Even in a match that matters as much as that one matters.
It's a great point, because I'm proud of our discipline record over the years. I don't need to talk about Arsenal because the whole world does talk about them.
Patrick was very upset with Ruud's reaction.
He was, and rightly so, because he looks always like he's provocative and trying to upset people. He's a great player, but the way he plays at the moment, he looks like always he is trying to get other people punished as well, and it's not right. And on this action especially, I think he was as guilty as Patrick.
I've listened to Arsenal's comments. I'm disappointed to hear that, because it's not a true reflection of what happened. And he's tried to brand the lad a cheat.
In view of all the incident, was Steve Bennett the right choice to officiate this match, considering what happened at the Charity Shield?
I think in the second half gave him a plus, but it's me. Maybe it's difficult for me to be objective in this situation, and I have never any suspicion about the referees before game starts, no matter what happened before. The important step is always to come back to confidence, is not to lose the next one, and we achieved that with a marvellous spirit today.
It's in the record books. Our discipline record is fantastic, as it was today. In an emotionally charged game like today, two best teams in the country, our discipline was controlled, competitive, and definitely very good.
Well, an awful lot to discuss, inevitably. Not a great advert for football. It barely needs saying for the last 15 minutes, certainly. There wasn't a great deal that happened before that. Jim, let's start with the first two flashpoints, if you like, the two yellow cards that led to the red for Patrick Vieira. How did you read them?
Well, I think Patrick Vieira got upset with the first. I don't think it was a yellow card. I know the referee said it was for persistent fouling, but I think he plays the ball here. And the first thing he does after the free kick was given and the referee's getting his card out is he picks the ball up and he says to the referee, I played that. And I agree with that. So I think he's become frustrated with that. But then the old Patrick Vieira that we've seen so many times before, he's on a yellow card, be careful. I mean, Van Nistelrooy maybe is just stuck in knee into him, had a little flick, nothing too bad. The kick out at first, I thought he caught him, and I think the referee's angle kind of shows that as well.
Yeah.
You can't do that, Matt. You can't start raising your leg. I know he's pulled away.
The disappointing thing for me, Jim, with Vieira as well, is that how many times have we seen that, you know, he gets one booking and he doesn't learn his lesson. I think he's 6 times now of the 9 times he's been sent off. It's been for 2 yellows. You know, he surely hasn't learned his lesson.
Yeah, and without looking at the clock, how often do they come fairly hard on the heels of the first yellow when the red mist is still around his head?
Red mist, and for such an experienced pro who's you know, such an influence on the game, you know, he's got to learn by his mistakes.
It has to be said also from the referee's point of view, his angle there, it looked as though there could have been contact. We know now there wasn't.
Yeah.
There's that angle there might be.
Also, I mean, I think as a lot of people have said since, if he had caught him, it's a straight red, probably, anyway, from Steve Bennett. So the intent is there to warrant a yellow anyway.
Remember Beckham sending off?
He doesn't have to catch him. It's the intent of the lashing out the kick. The referee has no option but to give him a second yellow card.
OK, well, that sorts that out. The penalty was next. I think, as Gabriel said in the report, the boiling point was yet to come. This was part of it, if you like. Ali, firstly, was it a penalty in your opinion?
I think it was a penalty. I think Keown got caught wrong side of Forlan. Good ball in. And I think he just hauls him down a little bit there. I don't think there's any doubt, in my opinion, that is a penalty. You have to look at his reaction as well. Keown's reaction tells me that it's a penalty because he doesn't put too much protest. But
he saves them for later.
I know. I just think referee maybe get that retaken just to,
that would have been the icing on the cake,
wouldn't it? Just to calm things down a little bit.
Yeah.
He's not on the line.
Is there a question that Rude's not calm enough to take that penalty?
Well, do you know something? I think having missed his previous 2, and hindsight's the greatest thing in the world.
Sure.
I think there is a case that somebody else should have taken it. I mean, he struck it very well. I mean, the goalkeeper moved along the line, but I think Van Nistelrooy knew what he was going to do with it, but just struck it too firmly on the side of the bar. But
now, OK, we get to full time, which of course is the thing that everybody is going to have the most opinions about, and certainly it's the thing that we know for sure the FA are looking hardest at, and we expect action in the next couple of days. We'll get to that. But for the events themselves, Clive, starting, of course, at the final whistle, well, where do you start, really, and where does it end?
It was a crazy period at the end of the game, where obviously temperature was very high. There was, and certainly this for me was the start of it all. Lauren steps out with Van Nistelrooy on the floor, and there's an intention to stamp on him here, and I think that Van Nistelrooy, in his defence, does really well not to react to that. Yeah. That was the first instant. Then you see Keown follows up. What is he doing? He strikes him on the back of the head. Van Nistelrooy again, no reaction. Yeah. And this is, I think,
Parler gives him a whack. They surround him.
This is what Sir Alex Ferguson is talking about. That Van Nistelrooy in no way has reacted. There's been a number of Arsenal players that have certainly, you know, behaved in an improper way, and they will get punished for that.
I think also Arsene Wenger was doing a huge disservice to Van Nistelrooy when he called him a cheat. Yeah. I think that's strong words, you know, and you've got to think a week ago when Pires went down on the challenge, it wasn't as quick then to say that, you know, somebody was cheating.
What I would say is I think Van Nistelrooy does make the most of the situation. Of course, there's no doubt about
everybody knows that in football, but to call him a cheat, I think is strong, because he could have gone down there and would have put somebody under a lot of trouble. You know, he could have gone down under that for Martin Keown, and he gives the referee a problem.
Yeah. In the papers, I mean, before the game, Alex Ferguson was talking about, we did have a diver here, but we sorted it out. I just wonder whether the Arsenal players have read that and thought, you know, it's Van Nistelrooy, he's the man, and so they're targeting him even more.
As often, there's what's said publicly in these situations and what can and perhaps should be said privately. Evidently, in the past, Alex Ferguson's reached a point with Manchester United where he said, privately, we've got problems we need to resolve if we're going to go forwards. Is Arsene Wenger at that crossroads that maybe all managers of big teams needs to negotiate? Listen, team, if we're going to proceed, we have to be better than bigger than this.
I believe so. When you see the scenes that we've seen now, there's a few players that were getting out of control, and it could have gone into, you know, something a lot worse. Yeah. Only the restriction, possibly, of Van Nistelrooy didn't allow the problem to blow up, really.
OK, now we've had an email on the subject of what potential punishments could be at stake from Noor Mohammed in Oxford. As an Arsenal fan, I think it will be a gross injustice if our players who manhandle Van Nistelrooy go unpunished. So even an Arsenal fan is suggesting they are...
Well, I think to be fair, I mean, I'm all for managers sticking by their team and, you know,
sure,
give them stick publicly and all that stuff, but there has to be a time where you have to stand up and say, well, evidence proves that they were bang out of order.
Yeah. They have to be punished for that sort of behaviour. Yeah. And I think the most costly way, certainly for Arsenal, would be if a number of them are suspended and the game's coming up.
Yeah, and the other one as well, Matt, was Lehman, the goalkeeper, on the assistant as well. He's manhandled. You can't put a hand on an official.
Right, well, we understand that there's 6 players that could face individual suspensions as a result, ranging obviously from 1 game upwards. 5 from Arsenal, including Ashley Cole, Ray Parlour, Martin Keown, Jens Lehmann, as you've said, who could face the worst for putting hands on the assistant referee, and Lauren and Gary Neville from Manchester United. Now, you can't see all of what goes on unless you look at hundreds of angles, which we've tried to do. But is it right that individual players are found culpable and miss games as a result of that sort of behaviour? Or is it just a club issue? Does the club get fined and leave the individuals alone?
How do you punish them? How do you punish them? The only way that you can punish them is those players don't appear in future games, and with the numbers you're talking about, it could be very costly in terms of points.
OK, if we look at the disciplinary record, which of course Sir Alex was very much wanting us to look at, in the time that Arsenal have been under Arsene Wenger, and similarly the same period under Alex Ferguson, Manchester United, there's a stark difference in the number of dismissals.
For himself, and Ali made the great point where there's a point where the manager has to say enough's enough.
Yeah.
You know, Arsenal are losing players, losing, you know, big players in big games because of those sending offs. There has to be a point where privately, if not publicly, he's certainly got to, you know, say to his players, we can't afford to lose control, especially in the big games.
I tell you that an interesting point as well. Vienna misses the I think it's a
Chelsea game.
I mean, Chelsea will be delighted with that.
Well, and if 5 or 6 players on top of Vieira face a 1 game or more ban, I mean, he's on a threadbare squad, I think, if it's all on the same day
as well. It's a big problem.
Well, there's always the procedure, which is a tactical weapon that the managers often use. I suppose the other issue is, should clubs, the 2 clubs involved, or one of them or more of the clubs involved, face docking of points? I mean, remember in 1990 the 2 went toe-to-toe at Old Trafford.
Just as bad as that.
Well, if we've got it, so let's have a look at the incident that led to 2 points being docked from Arsenal and 1 from Manchester United. And compare and contrast the violence involved. This was quite tasty.
This is much more serious, isn't it?
I love Brian McClare here. I mean, I've never seen him as angry since somebody stole his Financial Times in the Scotland team bus.
I wonder who that could have been. But yeah, was this worse? I guess it was.
Oh, I think so.
Oh, it's far worse, but I think the ironic thing about it is that he comes out, Keith Hackett, the referee, only books 2 players. It's just bizarre. It really is. Obviously,
well, that was in the day when men and sheep were scared and all that jazz, isn't it?
The repercussions were that the points were docked, 2 from Arsenal, 1 from Manchester United.
That's right. That's right. I just wonder whether you can't imagine the FA docking points.
No, I don't think there'll be any chance of that. I would be very surprised. I think that what we'll see is maybe individual players maybe getting a suspension or a booking somewhere along the line. But I honestly don't think you can compare those 2.
Does it have any bearing on the title run-in? I mean, Arsenal, for the record, go back on top of the table. It is early days, but it's the psychological effect.
Yeah, and it has a bearing that Arsenal could lose 5 or 6 players during a course of 2 or 3 games. That will have a bearing on the title, because Arsenal at the moment haven't got that strong of numbers.
Last word, not a great day for football, eh? It's no advert, this, is it?
No, I think Alex Ferguson's hit the nail on the head there. I think this is what we're talking about. I mean, which tells you it's not a great day for football. We'd rather be talking about a piece of skill from Lundberg or Van Nistelrooy.
It's the best 2 teams in the league as well, with probably the most skillful players in the league, and we're talking about, you know, that kind of stuff.
And probably with the most role models.
Well, exactly. I mean, you don't want your kids watching that, do you? No. You know, I mean, it's terrible. You know, the biggest game in the country has to offer at the moment, and the kids have got to look at things like that now. Yeah, we can do without it.